we welcome everybody who's here. Rick, we also want to make sure that you've signed in so that we have a record of who's attended our meeting this month. And the first thing I want to do is to call us to order and call the roll, please.
Okay. Khan.
Here.
Mayor Hemick. Here. Allison. Present. McQueen.
Here.
Turner.
He's absent tonight for unavoidable conflicts. First thing we need to do is to approve 2 sets of minutes from our August 9th regular meeting and our August 20th special meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any edits, comments, problems? Good. Call the roll, please.
Khan.
Yes.
Mayor Hemick.
Yes.
Allison. Yes. McQueen.
Abstain. Wasn't there.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough.
No, I was at the 20th.
Okay.
I abstained for that. Right.
Okay. Once again, I want to acknowledge persons present. I want to say once again, Carol, we have a seat at the big table for you, and yet there you are in the back row. You're like my students, you know, who sit in the back row, and I'm trying to get them up front. I want to acknowledge now that we're on to items number 2, communication from Kristen McNeely dated September 5th, 2019. And 2.2 community comments. As everyone knows, we always invite community members to come to address the board. We ask that you come to the microphone so that you can be on camera. Identify yourself, let us know who you are and what your connection to our district is, and that you keep those remarks to 3 minutes. That has been our long-standing custom, and that's just fair for everybody else. So, are there any community members who might want to come and address the board? All right, then.
Try to keep it 2 minutes.
Thank you, Board of Education, Administration, and community members for allowing me to speak before you this evening. My name is Sara Amin, and I currently teach 6th grade math and language arts at Millsline. Today, I'd like to speak to the start of the school year and update the community of changes and new processes or planning for the school year. I'd like to begin by welcoming our new superintendent, Dr. Terry Holden, who has made a big commitment coming to our schools to continue our PBL pedagogy and refine our practices along with our current administration and teachers. The beginning of the school year launched with 2 days of professional development where teachers participated in discussions centered around student learning and current PBL practice and looking at ways to evolve it. In collaboration, administrators and teachers have been and will continue to analyze our educational philosophies and how that translated into practice to best prepare our students for lifelong learning. I would like to now celebrate teachers who have recently received specialized training to help move our district forward and strengthen our knowledge and opportunities in several areas. Jennifer Scavone and Kevin Leidy, recently hired PBL coaches, attended 1 of 5 sessions through the Instructional Coaching Institute at Hamilton County ESC. Focus areas include strategies to work with classroom teachers, questioning techniques, collaboration with coaches from other districts, culminating with a reflective session on their experience and coaching practice. Primary teachers Heidi Hoover and Mikasa Sims attended a responsive classroom training session at the Columbus Academy to strengthen classroom culture and effective management techniques. The 2nd grade team, including Heidi Hoover, Deborah Mabra, and Chelsea Early, completed a 30-hour course on phonics first training, a multi-sensory reading and spelling program through Orton Gillingham. Newly hired teachers Allison Hawker and Hannah Weinstein attended PBL 101, a 3-day academy held by PBL Ohio Institute at the ESC of Central Ohio of Columbus. Middle and high school teachers Brian Mayer, Carlene Materney, Emily Cormier, and Lori Sparrow-Knapp are working towards completing CTE certification. Career and Technical Education, or CTE, is the practice of teaching specific career skills to students in middle school and high school. District Librarian Eli Hurwitz attended AP Research training through College Board in Colorado. This certification allows our district to offer AP diplomas. To our board, thank you for supporting our teachers in their desire to reach higher goals and recognizing the importance of autonomy in our chosen career paths. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Busy summer.
Hello. Thank you to the Board of Education and Administration for the opportunity to speak before you tonight. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kate Lohmeyer, and I'm the Health and Physical Education teacher at both McKinney Middle and Yellow Springs High School. I also serve as co-president of the Yellow Springs Education Association, my colleague Sada Amin. As an educator, leader, and contributor to this community, I very much value this opportunity to speak before you tonight. I would like to begin by complimenting my co-president's comments with a sincere thank you to Dr. Holden and the board. On behalf of the association and on behalf of our negotiation team, we are pleased at this time we have reached an agreement. We would like to specifically thank Dr. Holden, Matt Pausch, Sylvia Ellison, TJ Turner, and Tammy Emmerich for your willingness to engage in this meaningful process. Working through long sessions after both of our workdays was a difficult task for us all. Thank you for your patience and collaboration. Moving forward, we are excited about continuing open and transparent discussions surrounding how together we can move Yellow Springs through our next evolution. As we see it, Yellow Springs Schools is primed and ready for courageous evolution that can inspire community, political, and national change. Sada and I firmly believe in the creative and innovative minds that populate our shared learning community. As we move forward, our membership is excited and optimistic about the inclusion of teacher voice in the development of our unified vision. Standing on the edge of the wilderness is scary. Understanding who we are and how we belong to this community is essential for our collaborative work to be both meaningful and long-lasting. As we look to grow, change, and evolve, let us bring an awareness to growth that will strengthen our model. Yellow Springs already possesses the real gold that is so easily missed among the fool's gold of education. Together, let's redefine what public education can be. Thank you very much for your time and the opportunity to be heard this evening.
Thank you.
I'm going to take a swing here and say that may conclude our community comments. And thank you both again for coming out tonight and making those comments for us. We don't yet have a schools in action report, I don't believe, because in fact we've just really gotten into action. Oh, you don't want to say for the consent calendar?
No.
That's when it gets really exciting. So we're going to jump to 2.4 in our administrative reports, and you guys can rock, paper, scissors for who goes first.
Good evening.
Hey.
Good evening to you.
We are off and running, so things are going really well at this point. I think we're 3.5 to 4 weeks in now. I kind of stopped counting the days after we got past 8. So things are going really well. We had a fabulous start to the school year. Lots of collaborative discussions and focusing on the first 6 weeks of school, which is something that we do at Mills Lawn. We follow the Responsive Classrooms first 6 weeks of school philosophy program, because the idea is that when you establish a rich culture and a strong connection with students and your relationships are strong, then they're going to do very well throughout the school year. So we intentionally establish community and do lots of different things that are within that model. So that's kind of what I'm focused on to just share with you. One of the things that we did over the summer that Heidi and Mikasa did over the summer is they went back and they were refreshed. They freshened up their training with Responsive Classrooms. So a lot of our teachers had training before I was here, 12, 15 years ago. It's been quite a while since we've had formal training. So we sent 2 teachers there to learn and then bring that back. So they've already presented twice to the staff. And one of the things they did recently was modeling the morning meeting, which is a lot more than just like, hello, we're here, good morning. There's so many things embedded within that, including intentional greetings and connections so that you can learn about each other, academic pieces within there, and a lot of the social curriculum that we're focused on. So that's been very valuable. Within that's a big part of our social emotional learning push. So that was intentional, that we wanted some folks to come back and have better training so that we could share that with staff. So that's been going really well, and I think the tone around the building has been awesome. The other thing is just wrapped up data discussions this week. So one of the things that we're trying to do is, without elevating the importance of state testing and saying that this is the end-all be-all and this is what defines us, without doing that, but yet paying attention to the data to say, like, there are some themes here that might really help us with instructional planning. And more important than that, the focus on small group learning and differentiated instruction, which has been a big discussion point for us last year and this year. It was kind of like social emotional learning and differentiated instruction were the 2 big things that we were wanting to focus on this year. So Data discussions feed right into there. Jennifer Scabone, who's in her new role as an instructional PBL coach, has been very helpful in kind of preparing some of these discussions and sitting in with me. So she's jumped in and she's done a wonderful job. But I think we were able to go through those discussions and learn things without freaking out about, the state test, which, we all know that there are problems with that. So beyond that, it's just been getting around the classrooms, hanging out with students, teachers, supporting, tweaking schedules, just making sure that everything is flowing the right way. And we're still doing a little tweaking, but we're pretty much 98%, on our way. So it's a good start. Yeah.
So just in terms of the responsive classrooms, I mean, after all these years of doing that and stuff, what do you see in terms of our older kids with the younger? I mean, what's your sort of sense of all of that?
I think that it builds, within the kids, they have a sense that they have ownership and responsibility in the classroom. And that, one of the things they do is they help to create a classroom constitution, which are the norms and the rules of the classroom. So they've gotten used to doing that from kindergarten on up. So when you get to be an older student at Mills Lawn, you already have a sense of, I can help my classmates, I can help my teacher, I know how to navigate, my learning. It just gives them more ownership, and it also, because of the way that we do this, they know each other very well. So their relationships with each other are really, really deep. So I think it's very positive. When I started here, it was, I knew from the beginning that we had some rich culture, and we've been able to continue that and extend that in some ways, so it's great.
Yeah.
Other questions or comments from Matt? Thank you, Matt.
Just to let people know, there's commotion going on here because we can't get the.
Right, our technology.
My apologies, if it's not one thing, it's another.
And actually, get bonus points for being able to talk to you while.
You did that on purpose, that was actually.
Is there another? I need a second connection.
No, the cord goes into the ceiling.
Yeah, first that should be it. All right, so this may be unavailable.
Yeah.
I can get my.
Yeah, I just want
Right.
to know what's going on.
Right, exactly.
No surprise.
I've got my computer, Matt. We can try
You got a
that.
solid B- on that, the way you handled that.
No.
Thank you.
Yes.
Just how to operate while being completely distracted.
Walking and chewing gum, exactly. Mr. Hatter.
You're next.
All right.
He's ready.
Yes, I'm ready. Like Matt, we also started last year. We did a survey of our staff and asked what they felt like they needed professional development around. And in both buildings, the top thing was social and emotional learning. And then in June of last year, ODE officially released the new social and emotional learning standards. So it's the first time that the state of Ohio has had K-12 social and emotional learning standards. So we started our year with that as well. And my goal in our meeting was for our teachers to see how they could intentionally incorporate SEL without adding yet another thing to their plate. So teachers are busy and teachers have a lot going on, and we want them focusing on content and curriculum, but this SEL work supports that so much. And the time spent on this buys more time on the other end as far as the content and curriculum. So we basically had the teachers create a bingo board where they didn't realize they were creating a bingo board, but it was analyzing the standards and finding standards that they thought they could easily incorporate into their classes in an intentional way without really adding new responsibilities. And then we
Keep going.
so
You're good.
We have to do this too.
I gotta see.
It was just fair.
Yeah, so it was just fun to see them then take that bingo board and see how quickly they could come up with intentional activities without really adding new responsibilities. And I think they were able to walk away feeling really good about what they're already doing. And I think part of that is the responsive classroom piece that our kids do from kindergarten all the way up. So in our schools, we really intentionally work on community. And I think that's really important, and I think that really shows. So another thing that's really a cool change in our building around SEL is that Donna Howler, over the summer, she became licensed in mindfulness and meditation. And she's also nearly licensed in yoga. So she wrote a grant to the Community Foundation, and it was awarded. So now she is offering mindfulness activities to our staff on Monday mornings. Any staff member that wants to participate can do it while they're at work. And then she's also offering it at 3:45 on Mondays. And then she's offering yoga at 3:45 on Wednesdays. And we've incorporated that into kind of our discipline, where if a student gets a detention, instead of having to sit in detention, they can go to mindfulness and meditation, or instead of a Wednesday school, they can go to yoga. So it's the idea of it's not just a consequence, it's something that can actually help build that kid up. So we thought that was a really important thing. We've had teachers going. Yesterday, we had 6 people attend completely voluntarily for an hour-long yoga session. On Monday, we had an 8th grade.
I hope it's voluntary.
Well, but I mean, not as an alternative to a consequence.
Right. Oh, yeah, no,
But we had a student that chose that as an alternative to a consequence on Monday, and at the end of it, he came up to Miss Haller and said, "This was so amazing, I'm going to start coming back." So it's really like, that's kind of our goal, is trying to build our kids up. So that was cool. I wanted to share the theater schedule. So the dates here are tentative, but we're doing 3 shows this year. So we're actually going to do our showcase show. In the last 2 years, we've done the Bulldog Theater Festival, where we've had 2 shows run later in the fall. And those shows really were competing with soccer and volleyball and cross country. So we had kids doing a ton. So we were intentional about moving that up, and it was actually cast last year, and that's our showcase show. That's the Bigfoot Letters. It's a smaller cast, and that's going to run the end of the month here. It's going to be at the Foundry. What's that?
September.
September.
This month.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's coming very quickly.
Those are not tentative dates.
Those are not tentative. Those are definite, yes. And it's going to be, we're actually going to follow the model that we had with the musical last year after all those cancellations, where we ran a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we just packed the house. We're going to run that same model instead of doing it over 2 weekends. And then Miss Farrow-Knapp wanted to do the musical Scrooge. It's one of her favorites, and the kids wanted to do it as well. And then when Jo Franny Reichert heard about it, she said, "That's my favorite." So that is actually going to be a K-12 musical. So that is going to be, that's going to run in December, mid-December, trying to obviously capture the holiday spirit. But it's going to have we're not sure how big a cast from the elementary, but I think pretty much any of the elementary students who want to do it will be able to be part of it.
Already,
Yeah, there was a ton of excitement around it. So it's really neat to see our younger students getting to interact in kind of a meaningful thing with our high school production as well. So
and will that be out?
it's going to be at the Foundry as well, and that's going to run mid-December. So, and then the Fair Maid of the West will be our play that's going to be more of the 7-12 full cast, and that's actually going to be in the spring. That's going to replace the musical, because we moved the musical up to capture the spirit. So, and then the last thing is just the fall sports. Our teams are off to a great start. So cross country, it's been limited. We're just really early in the season right now. We did the fun run, and then they had 1 meet, and then girls soccer. Last year I felt like they took a huge step forward in starting to build a program, and we were disappointed when Kate didn't come back to coach this year, but we were really lucky, and the coach we hired, I think, is building that same culture. And our girls started the season 3-1. This is the first time since 2008 that they've won more than 2 games. As long as we have records back, it's the first time we had a 3-game winning streak. So like to see kind of that sense of accomplishment from our girls, and we have a really young team. So to see that success, and I think it's really, they're optimistic, and I think they believe in themselves in ways that our girls soccer program hasn't necessarily believed in themselves in the past. So that's been great. Boys soccer started off 4-1, and then the last couple games they've lost. But we're starting 6 freshmen and I think 2 sophomores. I think we only have 2 seniors. So again, we're a really young team with a bright future. And then girls volleyball right now is 8-0, so they're off to a great start. They won some really tough matches. I think they were rated 15th in the state right now. So it's last year they had a really great season, and we only graduated 1 senior. And even our team this year is still relatively young. So I think we're only going to graduate 1 senior again this year. So it's really bright for our fall sports.
So So I just asked Kate, so we are doing Into the Wild.
We are doing Into the Wild. So yeah, we just had a parent meeting tonight. That is September, I think 25th, 26th, 27th. So as of right now, I think we have every 7th grader planning to ride.
Okay.
Chris was in from Black Plug, starting to service all the bikes today. So that's a great partnership we've established. She comes in with a free safety inspection and kind of a small tune-up on every single bike that's going to make the trip. With the change in our middle school schedule, having seminar, a lot of the trip planning that was taking place in class is now taking place in the seminar period. So our kids are learning more about being their own mechanic for their bikes, so learning about the chain, tire pressure, all those different things. They've been riding around our parking lot, so each week they're getting out, they're learning to ride in a group, which is a skill that, most of those kids, they ride, but they don't ride in a group. So they're learning the hand signals and the language. And then next week we have our first official training ride. But that's such a great project to have in the fall. And just the community, and especially with students coming together in middle school from Mills Lawn and coming out with the students who come from Antioch, just to kind of be immersed with their classmates in nature, that sense of accomplishment. So this is year 4, and so far we've had one day that was kind of misty, and every other day's been sunny.
Right.
So out of whatever 9 days, we've had one day. So we're hoping, fingers crossed, that we have good weather again this year.
Right.
But we did. The parents were excited. We are purchasing tents this year. We're moving away from the tarps.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So the last 3 years worth of tents were They're like, why them? Why didn't we have them?
Well, the community foundation's helping.
Yeah, so the Community Foundation, this is the 4th year in a row that they've awarded a grant for that project, which is really great to have that continued support. Yep.
So in today's paper, Antioch College is doing an all-day training for dealing with young people and mental health issues. And I just want to point that out as, I want to put it out there. Are there some of our kids we could excuse to go to this training? And it's about not diagnosing or anything. It's about helping your fellow friend and student out. So it's in the paper. I don't know enough about it.
Is that the training that's on October 11th?
Yes.
Okay, so that's also our WOEA day.
Okay.
So we actually have teachers who are planning to go. That's the day where it's a work day for the teachers, but they can also go off-site to do professional development.
So students are already out of school.
Yeah, so the students are already out of school that day, but we also freeze up any of our teachers who want to go to be able to go.
Well, and I think students are invited too, so that was one of the things around how do you key in and how do you help your fellow peer. So great, I just want to make sure that got taken advantage of somehow if possible. Yeah, very cool.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you, gentlemen. For that, we'll move on to our treasurer's part of the agenda, items under 3 and 3.1 financial report.
Okay.
August 31, 2019.
Yes, as of August 31. Got this one.
Kind of have
Somewhere.
With the schoolhouse on it.
It's there.
One.
You just went past it, Rebecca, financial report.
August, that one right there.
Yeah.
You guys are so helpful, thank you.
Yeah. Well, we saw that you got flustered there before. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to hold your
I can
hand
barely
as
hold it
much as
together
possible.
right now.
He's good.
So on the first page, basically what this shows is it shows our cash flow, and we have actual for 2 months, and we have projected for the remainder of the year. So as of August 31st, in the general fund, we have a little over $6.9 million. And looking at this cash flow statement, if we combine the actual with the projected, we would be projecting to end the year in the general fund with about a little over 4.5 million, which is very close to what the projections, what the budget is. On page 2, we just have the actual to the budget for the month of August. And for the month of August, our revenues were slightly behind projected, and that's because I anticipated that we would return an advance of $75,000 from the cafeteria fund, which we have not done yet.
Okay.
And then on the expenditure side, we were under budget for the month for the expenditures to the tune of 67,000. So overall, we were under budget. I shouldn't say under budget, we were at our cash projections by around 68,000. And on the next page, we have the 2-month period. So basically what I'm doing is I'm comparing the budget for the 2-month period to the actual that we received. And once again, our $75,000 advance that we did not return played a big part in the reason why our revenue is under budget. And also, I just want to highlight the income tax line. That was under projections by 48,000.
Yep.
And from what I can tell, compared to last year, the growth of the income tax is slowing. And that has been factored into the forecast. And I'll go into that in more depth in October when we go through the forecast and when I ask you to adopt that. On the expenditure side, we were under budget, which is always a good thing, by about $56,000. So overall for the 2 months, we are running a little bit behind in our cash balance by about $70,000. So very close. The next page just compares the 2 months to the entire year budget. And once again, it has targets on that. And then on the next page, I have, where does the money come from? And you'll see this every month. And these percentages will change over the period of time because we get our real estate tax collections twice a year and the state foundation monies come in monthly. So that percentage will change throughout the year.
Can I just pause over that pie for a moment and say that the state foundation at 7% represents what the state gives us on a per student basis?
Yes, and a lot of other complicated calculations in that, but yes.
But
That's the basis.
I would just want people to understand that it's 7%. Yes.
And then on the next page, where does the money go? We're a service industry, and so the bulk of our expenditures are in salaries and benefits. And then on the next page, I have the percentage of the revenue received, and we anticipated that we would receive 37.47 of the budget at this point in time of year. We've received 36.17. So once again, we're close.
Yep.
And then on the next page is the expenditure side. And we projected that at this point in time of the year, we would have spent 16.58%, but we've only spent 16.03%. So that's good. And then the next page is the bank reconciliation. And I'm doing my best to keep the bulk of the money invested in the appropriate investments for our policy and the revised code. So you'll see more of the money in Star Ohio and the other savings accounts. And this is all funds, so as of August 31st, we had a little over $7.6 million in the bank. And then the next pages are the details of the fund balances from my system. Any questions?
It's great. Really clear.
More detail than you ever wanted to
No,
know.
it's good to have the detail, and I will cozy up with them tonight. But this is, your presentations with this material have been really terrific, and brings a lot of clarity to this.
And having it so early on so that we can digest it a little bit.
I don't like to rush. I like to get it out to everybody.
Absolutely.
So then, you can.
So we can start thinking about things, right?
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Jerry.
So we'll move on to the adoption of our consent calendar and the financial portion, and that's items 3.2 and 3.3. Do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Tammy, want to just give us the rundown on these?
Yes, who seconded that?
Well, it was like a tie, actually.
The first item is our permanent appropriations. And every year the board has to adopt permanent appropriations, which is the spending authority for the fiscal year. And this is all funds. And normally what I do is I have the board adopt it based on a fund level. That way it's much easier than if we need to make some changes within that fund, we can do so. If there's ever a time where we need to increase or decrease, we'll bring that to you, and I normally do that on a monthly basis. So with all the funds, I'm asking that the board adopt the permanent appropriations of $11,511,691.59 for fiscal year 2020. And then on the next page, we have a resolution to purchase the bus. We can purchase a bus going through the EPC, and they do the bidding for us. And then we're able to pick out what bus we want at the price that they're able to get, and they're able to get much better prices because they have the entire area, more than just Greene County. It's like Greene, Darke, Miami, Montgomery County, that it's part of this purchasing consortium. So we have budgeted to buy one bus out of the permanent improvement fund.
Does this replace a bus which now must rest in peace, or is this in addition to the fleet?
It will replace the bus.
Okay.
And by adopting this, it's not a commitment to actually buy the bus. We'll have to come back to you later for that, but this is just the intent that we want to
To get into that bidding
Right.
process. Okay.
Great.
There's zeros here, does that mean it's covered by something else? There's two,
Oh, that means there is nothing there. I have that
Yeah.
as a placeholder on my spreadsheet, and we just copied the spreadsheet over. Probably in the future, what you will see is you'll see some money, you'll see me come to you with an increased appropriation for the data communication fund.
right,
But for the emergency levy, you probably won't see anything on that. And for the IDEA restoration preschool, you won't see anything on that. So I need to take that out of my spreadsheet.
okay.
And those were redacted out, the zeros, but when I updated, they popped back in.
Thank you.
Other questions, observations, edits? Call the roll, please.
Mayor Hembeck?
Yes.
Ellison?
Yes.
McLean?
Yes,
Connor?
Yes. And thank you for that, Tammy. So we'll now move on to the superintendent's reports and recommendations. Take us away.
Okay, board, thank you. I'll give my updates first, and then when we get to the consent administrative, I'll give you my spiel, and then the same thing when we get to personnel.
Got it.
Food service update, and there's more detail in my actual written report, but I think we're, 3.5, 4 weeks in, and the feedback is positive. And that is with the nutrition group really just having to use vendors that were already established, so they may not necessarily be their vendors. But they are working hard to get to the point where they can start using their vendors and changing over. So I think that will only increase the quality of the food and the offerings. I know they're working on some timing issues, particularly at the high school. They've been very receptive to feedback. I think in the future, what we'll want to look at is a different point of sale, a second point of sale that's kind of separated so that we can not have such long lines for lunch. But the feedback has been good. Central office staff, in fact, have been carting over to get lunch from Mills Lawn. So Wow, that's a I'm hopeful there, and I know I mentioned to you before, but it bears mentioning again in a public format that they were so responsive, the nutrition group was so responsive to our request that they had their company executives here really the first few days assisting with the rollout. So I'm hopeful, and I'll keep you updated on that process. Second is the facilities task force. So that work continues. Next Wednesday, we have a tour of Mills Lawn. So this has been, the task force has worked very hard. These are pretty long, I find them mentally taxing meetings, where many times we're talking about, we're discussing technical parts of buildings that we don't really have expertise to understand, but we're trying to wrap our brains around it so that we can communicate to both you and the public about the need for facilities improvements. So the work is continuing. It is hopeful that the team will present to the board in December at the latest, after taking their findings to the public, and that's been, all of that we are still discussing. But that work continues, and I want to commend the task force because it's a lot of time. They've been meeting for quite some time.
Right.
Another facilities-related piece that is not under the purview of the task force is the outdoor facilities and the upgrade of the track and associated areas. So Tammy and I have been continuing meetings that were started last year, working with John Gudgel and others, and Jeff Irick about what do we need to do to really repair the track, repair some of the pits, the long jump pit that I believe, to make them really kind of up to requirements for those types of sports, the field, drainage, fencing,
Yeah.
things like, I mean, it's kind of a whole list of items. So we have a meeting, in fact, again, another meeting next week. So I just want to let you know that that is going on, and that has been going on. That was, I think those started last year at some point. Because there is a need to make some improvements. I think that the time has run out for that improvement piece. And I will, again, like the facilities task force, I will continue to keep you updated about that. Next, my next update is really along the lines of what Matt talked about with the report cards. So the report cards came out today. You know, you always know bits and pieces beforehand, but there's always a little trepidation of what is the final package going to look like. So I just did a cut, not of really any specific data, but just of the the district component grades. How do we compare this year to last year? And so I've included that in my update. And we have either stayed the same or gone down in a couple areas. Overall, our report card as a district is one that many other districts would just, love to have. I want to say that at the outset. So there are some areas in the report card where we get A's. It's just really hard to do that. But I think there's also opportunity for us to really start looking at this and how do we balance this view that exists that we know the tests are biased at least, don't necessarily measure all of the things we think are important. How do we balance that with this requirement, but also with this belief that I have, and I've talked to teachers about this and administrators, if we are doing the right thing in the classroom, if we are wrapping our PBL around standards, then at the very least our children should be able to be proficient on a minimum competency test. And so I think this sends a message to people who may not know anything else about Yellow Springs. It sends a message that we may not want to send. So we're going to spend some time digging into this, and I know, Matt talked about his meetings, and Jack shared an email he sent to his staff today about report card results. So it's on everybody's mind, but I think we need to take a thoughtful approach and really dig into this data. Part of what's hidden by this is how are we kind of addressing those achievement gaps, whether it's with students with disabilities or our Black students or our socioeconomically disadvantaged students. How do we address those gaps? And then I think that there are areas, for me, as a relative newcomer, that for our, we lose out on a lot of gifted recognition, if you will, on the report card. Not because we don't have students who are academically talented and gifted, but we don't serve them. So perhaps by design, but I think something worthy of exploring again. But here it is, again, overall, it is a report card that other districts would say, oh, yes.
So I should probably know the answer to this question, but in previous years, one of the frustrations that I have certainly had is that the testing instruments change from year to year, so your year-by-year comparisons are in fact really pointless because, and so do we at least have a consistent instrument here?
We have a consistent instrument.
Okay, well that's a small step forward.
It is a small miracle. but we
Yeah,
do.
right, okay,
Correct.
okay.
This is only testing based. Is there any other factors that go into the report card other than testing? Or are there different
Yes.
report cards?
Yes, there are other factors. So, for example, what you're seeing is just the surface level. So think of a multi-page report. I'm showing you the top page, the top layer. So on achievement, achievement component, that is a district grade of a C. It was a C last year. Performance index is really how the students performed on the test, meaning at what level. How many were performed at the basic level or the limited level. Indicators met is really what percentage of your students performed proficient or above, and the threshold is 80%. So that's why we have an F. We had an F last year.
And I think it is the case that virtually every district in the state winds up about with an F on this one because of the threshold that they have set. Am I wrong?
Many do. I
Yeah.
won't go so far as to say
Okay.
many do,
Many
correct.
do.
But when I look at that, you know, that achievement indicator, the test indicator, is really based upon the standards, right? And so if you kind of backward design, because the standards, I don't think anybody's going to argue that the standards aren't necessarily okay or appropriate. So if we backward design and plan around that, we should see different results here. But in answer to your question, under the achievement component, so you get a grade for performance index, you get a grade for indicators met. Those are weighted. And then, two other things drop in. Do you make your gifted indicator? So we will never make the gifted indicator because we do not serve gifted students.
Right.
And the other one is that the state snuck in last year, so this is year 2, is this indicator called chronic absenteeism. Yeah. And so if you do not make that, you are given a deduction. So that is where they start bringing non-academic indicators into this component, which is all academic. Prepared for success is not necessarily all academic, so I just find it an interesting one.
Right.
Why no grade this year for the improving at-risk K-3 readers?
You know what?
Okay.
There you go.
So,
Curious, sorry.
well, you don't get a rating for that if less than 5% of your kindergartners are on track.
Okay.
So last year, less than, most of our kindergartners, more than 95% were on track at the beginning of the year, so we didn't get a grade for it. But I will say that the factors that go into that, we did really well on. So
Okay.
100% of our students met the third grade guarantee, which means they either passed the AIR test or an alternative test. All of our students that were not on track made it to on track, so we had 100% of our students that were, behind at the beginning of the year make a year's growth and
Okay.
get on track during that next year. So I mean, we did very well there. It would have been an A if we had had
If you had the
more than
the numbers
5%.
were different, okay.
And that's a bright spot, honestly.
And if you're not gonna say it,
Yeah, the small numbers thing
I,
gets us
okay,
on that,
thank you,
yeah,
right.
definitely.
I'm
Because it
right.
doesn't take that long to tip that threshold
Right.
of small.
A lot of the
Right.
indicators that we didn't meet,
Yeah.
we're talking about like one student, two
Yeah,
students.
yeah, it can push you over,
But
whereas
the-
if we had tons more students.
But the way the state is changing this in the future is, it used to be that the end for group size, it used to be 35 back in the day, tells you how old I am. Then it went to 30. And they have it projected out, I think over 3 years, it's gonna go down to as low as 10. And so if you know anything about statistics,
Yeah.
you're just laughing.
You're just,
because-
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
she-
me.
yes, right.
But
Right.
it is what it is.
Yeah,
So
right.
that is coming, you know, they're rolling that out.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
So, that's it for.
Well, and, so you said this just dropped today.
Just dropped today,
You're giving us the executive
So
summary.
at your pleasure, I would be happy to give you an in-depth look because I think that's always helpful.
Well, I think, right, when you've had time to digest this, I think it might be nice
Right.
to have a second.
It'll take a while.
I bet, yeah.
So I would love to do that because
Great.
I think it's worth knowing and understanding.
Good.
Okay, so.
Is that all under?
That is updates, and so now,
Okay, so now we'll move on to the administrative part of the consent calendar, items 4.2 through 4.11. Do I have a motion?
So,
second,
Okay. Discussion, please.
okay. Board, you are being asked to approve quite a few things in the administrative consent calendar. So there are first reads for 8 policies. So we have policy 2431, interscholastic athletics. That just reflects the Ohio High School Athletic Association exception, which provides relief for students who were given a grade of incomplete that was later changed. And so there's a policy that they require.
Right.
Revised policy 5460, graduation requirements, reflects changes from House Bill 166, which allows show choir, which we do not have, but does allow show choir to be counted as an exemption or an excuse for the physical education requirement. Revised policy 6320, purchasing and bidding, involves language around the purchase or lease purchase. Guess what? School buses.
Surprise.
A school bus is
We're on the bus, baby.
defined
We are on the bus.
as holding more than 9 passengers, excluding the driver, and then competitive bidding is required when it's over 25,000. Revised policy 6325, procurement, federal grants and funds, involves requirements around the small and minority businesses and women's business enterprises. Basically gives the district more information to encourage involvement in the procurement process and reminds districts that it's always the most restrictive threshold or requirement that prevails. Revised policy 6423, use of credit cards, clarifies basically the language around credit card use. It says the name of the district must be on the credit. Yeah.
So you have to stop using mine, is that? Okay.
Revised policy 6605, crowdfunding, involves new language that addresses the importance of safeguarding student privacy and maintaining appropriate fiscal safeguards when using crowdfunded money. This has been a hot topic. It was a hot topic last year. Revised policy 6610, student activity fund, clarifies language regarding charitable donations into student activity funds. And revised policy 8400, school safety, again, reflects language changes in the move from No Child Left Behind to ESSA. And those are all first reads.
Yep.
Second reads are for those policies from last month. 2413 career advising, 5113 school choice, 5610 and 561003 regarding removal, suspension, expulsion, and permanent exclusion of students, as well as emergency removal, and 8500 food services. Donation, I just want to say that I had a lovely discussion with Paul Beck, who is a resident, he's got just an interesting history, so that was a pleasure. He donated a globe to the district, a new globe, and has offered to donate other items that may be useful upon our request. So I want to recognize that. We are asking for approval of Caitlin Killen-Bove as Miller Fellow in the Special Education Department at the middle school, high school. And funding for Miller Fellowships is provided by the foundation. And then there are 6 revised job descriptions. Assistant to the treasurer, board office, clerical assistant, and transportation coordinator. Those changes are due to responsibility changes in those job descriptions, and those are minimal. EMIS coordinator and executive assistant to the superintendent / communications director. Those changes reflect the removal of EMIS duties from executive assistant to the superintendent and addition of communications and public relations duties to the executive assistant position. And then special ed coordinator and student services director / operations. Again, revision of job responsibilities. So this is, as we're going through these and trying to make sure everything is right aligned, we've noticed either we've had old job descriptions and it's just time to update them, or job descriptions where responsibilities were not really correctly situated. So it's really trying to right align all of those. Specifically, the move from EMIS out of the executive assistant to a half-time position is because 2 reasons, basically. The EMIS world is so complex that it really needs focus. And it is hard to do that job when you are doing another job. And in light of recent events and just what's happening, this need to communicate and to communicate kind of almost instantaneously is growing, and so because that's a large part of my role, I wanted it to be reflected in the assistant role. And that is information about the administrative portion of the consent calendar.
Any questions about any of that?
No, I'm
Good.
just glad.
Yep, it's great to do this at this time of the year. Good. Call the roll, please.
Ellison,
Yes.
McQueen,
Yes.
Khan,
Yes.
Mayor Henry.
Yes.
Okay, so now we move on to the adoption of the personnel part of our consent calendar, item 4.12. And these are employments. Anything that needs to be
No, I
said
think,
about these are the usual kinds of,
honestly, they're the usual. Some of the extra hours are to meet training requirements for needs for our students with special needs. And then the regular supplementals that happen at this time of year, and always getting substitutes.
yep. I forgot to ask for a motion, I'm sorry about that.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions about any of this? This is like the changing of the seasons. We hire them and then we terminate them and then we hire them again, yeah. So, turn. Can I call the roll, please?
McQueen,
Yes.
Khan,
Yes.
Mayor Henry.
Yes.
Ellison,
Great.
Yes, I'm sorry, I just noticed something. It's not really important, but it says spring musical choreographer, and the musical's not in the spring, so, but.
That's what it was in
It's
the,
just, it always has been called that.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's its
Yeah.
title.
okay,
Yes.
sorry. Yes.
Okay, so let's move on to item number 5, board communications. We need to schedule a board work session. Would you like to talk us through that a little bit?
Well, I think as the treasurer and I are talking every day, there are things that we need to have, I think, really lengthy discussions about.
Yep.
So we would just like to request a work session. And again, because use my newness, I need to know how the board would like to proceed. So my past experience has been, there have been regular work sessions, every, so work session, board meeting, work session,
Mhm.
board meeting. And that really hasn't been the case here, so I'm just looking for guidance from you about work sessions and scheduling
Okay.
and such, and
Yeah, and I guess I will just stress for anybody watching, it is virtually impossible to engage in really substantive, free and open discussion during these regularly scheduled meetings because of all the other work we need to do. Work sessions are the only time where we can do that. So, are you hoping we can do that this month?
I think the sooner the better,
Yeah.
but it
Good.
really, I mean, we're available.
Yeah.
Well, I guess,
We're gonna bang
but I
on
mean,
our schedule.
if we did it, you have stuff you'd like us to discuss.
We have
We
agenda
have stuff,
items.
okay. So, especially given that TJ isn't here, I'm wondering if doing the proverbial doodle poll would make sense. And if you could send that out, no? Yes.
No, no.
Stephanie, can you do that for us? And we will try to get that done, you know, in the next 2 weeks.
Should we all say right now, so Stephanie knows dates that we couldn't do it, to not have them on the doodle poll?
I'm gonna,
I have
rather
a
than, well, why don't we email those to her?
Okay,
So that she's not inundated
Okay.
behind the camera
sounds
there.
good. I just would hate it to
Yep,
come out. and
Yep, yep, yep,
it's
so,
already-
yeah, so our task is dates that are out, email to Stephanie. You will then contact us and TJ.
But like,
about
is that, I mean, just as a general question too about your timing, is October okay?
You know, honestly, so October is okay. There's nothing that,
Yeah,
we don't have a deadline that we're
like,
trying to
right,
meet
okay.
for
Yeah,
everything.
okay.
I
Okay,
just
cool.
think if we don't have one soon,
Yeah,
our agenda will be,
well, maybe we can put it in September, I just didn't want it to be a
Yep.
panic thing if we can't,
Right.
or we should
Right.
know if it's a panic thing.
Right.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
so we are thinking about time slots like this, or 6 or 7, I don't know,
Mhm.
We've done them all different days.
We've done them on
and times.
Saturdays, we've done them in the
Yeah, we've
evenings,
done
we've done
a full
them, yeah.
variety.
So we will include a variety of options in the
Right.
doodle poll and,
Okay.
okay.
Great. The report from GCCC.
Yes. We signed a beam, which will be the final beam that they're gonna put in the
Oh,
building.
sweet.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's getting, I mean, it won't be finished until, the goal, I believe, is April of next year, so that we could actually start by, like, move everything in and be ready for August. Is the,
Yeah.
you know, crossing fingers goal. But that beam is gonna go in October, and there's gonna be a, little something
Nice.
that we can all
Will you
go
tell us
and-
when that is?
All the students, actually, I'll send you guys pictures. All the students signed it, so there's like 600
Oh,
Ah.
oh, that's
names
really
on it, and
neat.
then, yeah, then the teachers,
Cool.
number one signed it. And it's gonna hang up, yeah, somewhere in the cafeteria, I believe.
That's cool.
Yeah, and that was really cool. One of the board members from Fairborn, Mike Eaker, I'm sure you remember, but he has a new position at the Air Force Base, and he wanted to let us all know that
Oh, so he has
if you want to
to,
do anything education-wise,
Okay.
like you want to have a class and meet with, you know, this is how planes work, you want to do a science class, he's definitely talking STEM, high school,
oh, neat.
but like, talk to him, he can get it done. He can, anything along those lines, of course, regular tours and stuff like that, but he really wants to focus on like, bring your class and we'll bring, you know, some of the top people, and they really want to work with schools, especially Union County. So I just want to make sure I also
Great.
mention that, because
cool.
that is a really, yeah, so he was more than excited. I can easily get his email and information to you guys, but he was
Yeah.
more than
Send that to us,
excited.
that'd be great.
Absolutely. Yeah, other than that, that concludes the,
Okay. Yeah, the ground dried out, so, you know, so.
yeah,
bulldozers-
it's
yeah, right.
getting up pretty quickly.
Good. Other board member items, I'd just like to start this by, you know, at the beginning of the year here, now that the classes are underway, by thanking all of the various people and organizations in town that enrich the district. And you can see this just in a monthly agenda, the Community Foundation and its continued support of all kinds of interesting, innovative projects, volunteers who are here in the building, people who are donating things, the task force with all of the time that they have committed to this. So thank you all at the beginning of the year, because the schools really would be impoverished without all of that contribution. Other board member items?
Just sort of officially welcome back into school.
Yes,
everybody.
right, here we are,
Thanks to the
right?
teachers and admin and everybody who's getting everything
We are
done.
off and running. So we are now going to move into an executive session, and we will come back for one final vote. Carol, you can see that on the agenda. But do I have a motion, please, to get us into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
I'll just keep
Whoever.
going. Right. And call the roll, please? Yes.
Mayor Hemick,
Yes.
Ellison,
Yes.
McQueen.
Yes.
And we're in at about 8:01. Yeah.